Ladies and gentlemen, real quick, an introduction. My name is Angel Rodriguez. We're going to be talking about a very serious topic, something that's deep. It's very personal, and I'm fortunate that I have a gentleman right here in the name of Joba, and he will be sharing what life is like with HIV today.
The city of New York, Boricua from the Bronx.
Mr. Joba, please introduce yourself. Just give us an overview. Who is Joba?
Well, let me just start off by thanking Angel. Very cool, guy, and I thank God that I met him and he was in my life, and he got put in my life. My name is Joba. I'm 100% Puerto Rican, so I'm representing for the Latinos and Hispanic descent and everything else. And I'm very humbled, and I try to inform people and talk to people about this condition, HIV. And I know that a lot of people are, like Angel said earlier, they're not very informed in the situation. Like, a lot of people actually think that by holding on to a bottle, just going like that, you're gonna get infected.
Joba's a big Snapple guy. But please carry on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I love Snapple. So Snapple, if y'all want to endorse me, thank you. Give me a call, tweet me, whatever. But yeah, I just want to inform people that not just because you hold on to something or you're hanging in the car with a person that's HIV positive and has it because they were born, just by touching their hand or anything of that sort, you're going to catch it. Like, a lot of people think that by just being in a room with a person with HIV, you're going to get infected automatically, and that is totally false. So yeah.
Okay, since you're on that track, mm-hmm. I guess we're going to jump around here, and I will ask you this. You mentioned all that just now, right?
Right.
Have you actually experienced discrimination, prejudice, things of that nature because of everything you said, other than being Latino? Because you're Latino by default, you're going to get discriminated. We know you're one of those, but have you experienced that you're sharing with me? Ignorance exists.
Right.
Ignorance, right? People are, like we mentioned in the very beginning, they're unaware.
Right.
So, have you encountered that in your life?
Yes, I have, and I thank you very much for your question, Angel. Yes, I have. All the time. As growing up, you know what I mean. That's been part of life. I have two options, and people with this condition have options. Like, a lot of people say, "Oh no, we don't have options and everything else, this and that." But in reality, you do. You could keep your mouth shut, you know what I mean, and not share it and not tell people and protect people about it. Or you could share it and tell people and inform people and be like, listen, this is what's going on. And I'm one of those people that decided to grab it by the horn and say, I'm going to protect people and I'm going to inform people about it. And if you want to reject me, fine. I'm not $100 bill for you to like me or to accept me. But I prefer doing that instead of not telling, and then it could be worse from there. You know what I mean? By not telling. And yes, I have been rejected and neglected just because I try to protect people about it.
Give me a scenario.
Well, Angel, if Angel was a female, you know what I mean? If Angel was a female in that perspective, a beautiful female at that, Puerto Rican and all this and all that. And then from after the drinks and after the bar, she decides to, I don't know, bring me to the house just because she likes the interaction. She enjoys the conversation and she wants to continue the conversation. And then if I see stuff going to other levels, like I said, I have an option of keeping my mouth shut, or I guess putting a condom on and protecting myself and protecting her, but at the same time, nowadays condoms are not 100% legit or 100% safe. So I would have to, it's in me, or it's in my perspective and in my heart and stuff like that, or in my system to say alert. It's like an alert, like, when you get a message on a phone or whatever, it's like the body alerts me and says, before you go any further, you have to share, and you have to protect the person, because it could be worse. So it all depends on the scenario. Like, if you've been, I mean, and it could be different. So, like, let's say you continue seeing this person differently and priorically, and you've been friends with this person for a long time, and she wants to go further and with the relationship. Like, just by being friends, I don't think that you should. I mean, I don't think that you should tell the person or the individual about it, because you guys are just friends. But if you cut yourself, or let's say you got into an accident and your friend is there, you tell them, please don't touch it, or step away from me, or don't, just call 911, because that's another way that you could protect the person and not infect them. Because if you cut yourself and a person touches your blood, you're very, and you have another, like, open, like, if you have a open scar or something open in your hand or whatever, when you touch the blood, that's one way of catching it. Or, you know what I mean, that's a way that you could, my blood will go into your blood, and then it all messes it up eventually. But it's different scenarios. So yeah.
So the primary concern would be in relationships. And I was going to ask you, there's one of the things I wanted to ask you, like, how does this affect your relationships, particularly intimacy, which you just kind of mentioned, you kind of touched on that.
Right.
This is not something, let me go back. So how did you contract the HIV virus? And then this will all lead to where I'm going. So how did this come about?
Well, I was born April 30th, 1990.
My birthday, by the way.
Yeah, me and him share the same birthday, and that's a good thing. I think that's why we get along so well. Yeah, I was born with it, you know what I mean? And I couldn't help it. I couldn't be like, hey mom, or hey daddy, I don't want to be born this way. So I contracted it by being born.
Now, you may not, I never really mentioned this before, but let's say, my dad used to, he was a heavy heroin user. When I was little, my dad used heroin, okay?
Right.
Back in the 80s, people shared needles all the time.
Right.
And, my dad has since passed away due to liver failure and stuff, but it's right here. It's like this. Right here, right? See this?
Mm-hmm.
Right, you guys see this? This is a nickel.
Yeah.
Flip of a coin.
Yeah.
Flip of a coin. I could have. All my dad had to do was, stick that needle in whatever, and then I could have been in the same scenario. Like, it's all, through no fault of your own.
Right.
We're just, this is what it is, right? So you're kind of born into the situation. At what point does Joba become aware? Like, when do you know?
I think it was around 11 or 12ish, because as I was growing up, I there's this hospital in Puerto Rico. It's very famous. It's called Centro Médico, and I met there 29 other kids or other individuals that basically were born around the same, prior or period of me. So I met 29 other kids, and I kept seeing them slowly but surely disappearing. Like, where's Veronica, or where's Samara, or where's Natalie? And everybody was like, oh, they moved, or where's James? And they kept moving, and I was just wondering why they kept moving. If Puerto Rico is such a wonderful place. It's hot and it's tropical and all this and all that. And then I guess around 11 or 12, they sat me in a doctor's office. And the first thing I said was, "Oh my, I might be in trouble. I might did something wrong," because that's the first thing you think when you're like sitting down with your parents or guardians, and then other people. And they were like, "Joba, do you know why you're here?" And I was like, "No, I'm just here to always be with my friends." And they're like, "Yes, this is true, but at the same time, we're here to talk to you and inform you about the real reason why you're here." And I was like, okay, like a a kid that didn't know, what I mean? I was just like, okay, I'll listen. And then they were like, well, Joba, the reason why you're here is because you're sick. And I was like, am I? Like, I feel fine. I feel good. I feel okay. What are you talking about? And they're like, well, the reason why you are fine is because the medication that you drink every day. And then I'm like, okay. And then they were like, you have, or you was born with this disease called HIV. And I was like, okay. I was like, okay. And then they were like, Joba, you have control. And I'm like, do I? Or I do? I have control? And then they were like, yes, you do. You have control. And I'm like, okay, so how can I control this, or how can I whatever take the wheel, as they say. So they were like, you could keep your mouth shut and not tell anybody about it, not share it, keep it to yourself. You might get accepted and all this and all that, but if you cut yourself and somebody else touches you while you cut yourself, or while your blood, you might get them sick, just like you. And I'm like, okay. So, okay, what's my other option? And then the doctor was like, you could tell them, you could be upfront with them and tell them, listen, I was born with this condition, call HIV, and protect them. And I just said, okay, thank you for the two options. I know the option that I'm going to take from here on out. And I just chose the option of protecting each and every one that I could, or that comes, in my path. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
You mentioned in a prior conversation that, well, if I remember correctly, you mentioned that none of those individuals are still around, none of those children that you were coming up with. Is that correct?
Well, the 29 kids that I've met prior to me, slowly but surely, they weren't really moving. They were just dying slowly but surely, until the last one that I knew was like my best friend, and he was a guy. And once he reached 18, he was like, I'm grown. I'm doing whatever now that I'm grown, I'll do whatever the heck I want to do. Nobody could tell me nothing because I'm grown. So I'm going to stop drinking medication. I'm going to stop the treatment. I'm going to stop everything that, my parents used to tell me to do. I'm going to stop it now. And then I'm going to start drinking and using probably drugs. And it just got complicated. And from there on out, he's no longer here. So from 29 kids, I'm basically the last one and the only one that's still alive to this day. And back when I was growing up, they said that I wasn't gonna last till 18. They said that I was gonna be dead before I could open my eyes and see the age of 18. So, but I guess the medication and the scientists and everything else that has came up, and God as well, because I believe in the higher power, thought otherwise and chose, no, Joba, you're gonna be a spokesman, or you're gonna inform people, and you're gonna talk to people about it, and you're gonna last more than 18. And
Yeah, so prove them wrong.
yeah.
You know, in the 80s and earlier on, getting HIV was perceived as kind of like a death sentence. You get this condition, and it's only a matter of time. Well, it doesn't kill you itself, right? The pneumonia will kill you, or whatever.
Right,
So,
the complications,
right.
it gets complicated with pneumonia or bronchitis, or you know what I mean, different other kidney failure, it just goes separate. It attacks, different part of your body.
Things that someone, who doesn't have HIV or AIDS could potentially fight off,
Right.
because of the weaker immune system, is generally what ends up, taking the life of someone. So, it sounds to me like you've kept yourself healthy. You've taken your medication. You've been doing the things you have to do to stay healthy, and you've also given yourself an important purpose, which is to share and educate people, which is important. In all causes, you need people to come out and talk. There was a period where they thought that this was a gay disease.
Right.
So Eddie Murphy made, if you watch Delirious, he makes jokes about, the girlfriend who has the gay best friend, and he's like, I don't want her to kiss her gay best friend and bring the AIDS in her lips, or like they didn't know back then.
Right.
We've come a very long way since then, and now people know more. But it's always good to get even more. That's why
Right.
you standing up and talking about this stuff is important. Especially there's kids out there. There might be a kid out there who sees this now, or maybe they'll see it tomorrow. Maybe they'll
Right.
see it on YouTube. Maybe they'll hear it on my podcast.
Yeah, podcast, yeah, they might hear it. Yeah.
There's all these different venues that we might reach someone who needs to hear this.
Right.
That kid that right now is facing that choice that you were given when you were a kid.
Right.
They're not being given that choice. Maybe they're not being taught.
Right.
Maybe they're alone. You don't know. So I think it's helpful. There's still actually, I put this out on my Facebook, right? And some guy put, I don't know if you remember, the Family Guy did a spoof on it, where they did a song on AIDS. I don't know if you ever watched Family Guy, but they did a song about it, and the song is called, You Have AIDS, You Have the AIDS, and they did it like in a joking manner, right?
Right.
I put this up, to raise awareness. I shared it on all my social media, and this individual puts that in the comments. Now, I immediately deleted it.
Right.
I thought that was, it was irresponsible, and it's insensitive, it's in poor taste, and frankly, the guy is being a jerk. So I did not keep that up. And usually, I don't censor people on my social media,
Right.
But
and I'm sorry to cut you off, Angel. I respect people like yourself, and I respect you for doing that. You understand what I'm saying? And I respect you too for giving me the chance and the opportunity to come on your podcast and to come on all your social medias and be able to express and tell people from a different perspective, or from the perspective of the actual person with it, because a lot of people just say, oh, I don't have it, so I don't have to deal with it. But the thing is that it's people like yourself and everybody else that have given me the opportunity to speak about it, that people like us admire and respect more than the person that says, no, you can't come to my show, or no, you can't, I'm not giving you the opportunity to speak about it and inform people about it because I just don't feel like it. I mean, so those kind of people we do not respect, and those people we do not applaud to. Or you could have been the other person that said, okay, I'm gonna keep it and laugh about it, about that spoof, and keep it up there and ha ha ha, let's laugh about it. People like us, we really don't really respect those people as much as we respect you. You know what I mean? So I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity and the platform, and for letting me speak about it and inform people, and then too for deleting the song.
Yeah, that was a jerk move. I think from our conversations, we've spoken quite a few times, and you know that I have a pretty wild sense of humor.
Right.
I'm not an uptight individual. I have a sense of humor. I can joke about anything.
Right.
But I believe that there's a time and place, and there's certain topics that is just insensitive. If I make a mention that I'm going to be talking with someone who's talking about living with HIV, and you put that in there, your filters are just off. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me. So I couldn't leave it up, and that guy, I'm starting to question whether or not I want to keep him around, because
Right.
there's been many times that he goes, and I know him personally. I know this individual personally, so I know that they're not malicious. Like I know that they're not a malicious individual, but I can't help but wonder what kind of intent or how does one go to that level of insensitivity and trying to be humorous or whatever. It doesn't sit well with me. If I've actually deleted several statements that this guy has said recently, so that's why I've been kind of reevaluating things.
I mean, I think that the little bit that I know about you, or a lot that I know about you, I think you're very positive. You're a very positive individual, and around and that guy sounds a little bit negative. You know what I mean? And a person that's positive shouldn't be around negative people, because obviously, misery loves company. I think that's the phrase,
Mhm.
and I think that you're better than that. You know what I mean? And your energy is way higher and way better than that, and I think that you don't deserve to. I mean, that person, I think you should cut him off, because I think it's just gonna. I mean, I know it's not gonna get you like down, bring you down, because I know you're stronger than that. But let's say you and him are hanging out, and people already know that he's rude. It automatically is gonna project on you and say, "Hey, that guy Angel, I'm not gonna give him an opportunity and a chance because he's hanging out with an a hole." You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So I mean, I don't. That's not good for your for your image. There you go.
Yeah, it does. It does reflect. I think it does reflect that. How can you be? I have had people ask me, who is that guy? Why is he your friend? We're coworkers. We work together. Um, but I don't know. I'm reevaluating
Right.
the situation with this individual because I thought that was pretty. I mean, it kind of goes too far. And again, I'm not one of these politically correct individuals who can't make a joke. I rag on Latinos. Like I can take and make a joke. I'm perfectly good with that. But I think that there are definitely limits. Like for instance, look at you. You're always putting up a picture of you and Don Omar. You and your bromance with Don Omar. You know I'm gonna rag on you for that. You know, yo, check me out, yo. It's me and Don Omar. Look, we're hanging out. Look, I got my arm around Don Omar. Look. I know Don Omar. That I'm gonna rag on it. I'm gonna rag on it.
Yeah.
To me, that's
But the thing is that I know that it's not a malicious joke. You know what I mean? And it's not a
what are you talking
malicious,
about?
raggeting thing. You know what I mean? I know it's a joking matter, so that's why I can't really get upset about it.
But how do you know I'm joking, bro?
Because you're a jokester, brother. Because you're a jokester.
Stop ragging on Joba and Don Omar. So, how's your quality of life? Like, what's your day to day like? And don't be afraid to tell me to fuck off if I ask a question wrong, right? Because I'm trying to properly phrase it. But like, do you have restrictions in the day to day, or
Well, I do have a normal life. You know what I mean? I do live a normal life. I do have to take medications every day, twice a day, basically to control it or whatever the case might be. Um, and all this and all that. But I just the day to day thing is I try to give back and I try to help people that are in need. Like if people need to go to the grocery store, or if people who need to go somewhere to a doctor's appointment, I I I give my time to give to them, and I help them out because I know how it feels not to have anybody to help you, because it has happened to me. You know what I mean? And the main reason, or the really big reason sometimes, is because they be like, I don't want him to help me, or I don't want to help him because I might be afraid of catching something. You know what I mean? Or whatever. I don't want to be around him because I don't want to catch on to something. And I'm like, really, bro? Like that's how you feel? It's your loss, not mine. You know what I mean? Because I know I'm a great guy, and all I was trying to do is protect you. You know what I mean?
do you feel resentment or do you understand? Like when someone has that, be it ignorance, be it prejudice, be it that they're just an a-hole. Like, do you get that, or what? How do you feel about that?
Well, sometimes I get upset. You know what I mean? And I'd be like I want to be like I want to turn into resentment, like you said, or I want to be an a-hole and not tell nobody and just, you know what I mean, hope for the best that they won't catch it. You know what I mean? But then it's like the devil talks to me and says, "See, you know what I mean, she rejected you, or that person rejected you. That's what you get for telling people." You know what I mean? But then and then the angel comes up, and I'm not saying it because your name is Angel, by the way. I'm saying it because there's an angel from above comes and says, "You did the right thing. They lost out on a great guy. You know what I mean? Keep doing the thing that you're doing and protecting people." And you know the reason why they left is because they're not worth your value. Like you're worth more than they are. You know what I mean? So you did the right thing. But when I get rejected, it's really frustrating. It gets upsetting, and when I get upset or when it gets to that, it's just like, why should I tell people? But then it just knocks my sense back into them and say, protect people, and they'll thank you in the long run, or whatever the case might be, or whatever. You know what I mean? I think that me doing it makes me feel better itself. You know what I mean? So
It's the right thing to do, regardless of the outcome. We all, I mean, even people who don't have HIV and people who, don't have anything that can't relate, we get rejected. You know what I mean? Everyone gets rejected. So it's something no one likes. Of course, in that circumstance, it sucks because this is something that's not even, it's out of your control.
right,
It's not even, but it sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds to me like you're psychologically handling it properly. It sounds to me like you're here, you're making the best of your life, you're educating, you're trying to, make an impact.
right,
Yeah. And
right,
keep yourself from getting pulled into this depression, because all that factors into it. I would imagine if you're heading right, then your body would follow suit.
right.
We all appreciate, you mentioned you're thankful for being on the show and stuff, and I appreciate you coming on here and sharing. I think it's helpful. It's informative. It helps everyone, including folks who may be sick, young people. So I think this is educational. I always wonder, myself. I'll use myself as an example. If
Right.
I were dating a female and she told me
Mhm.
that she had HIV, if I would be able to proceed intimately, you know?
Well, my question. Let me flip the script on you right now, Angel. Well, we all know you're you're married right now, but let's think outside the box, or let's say you wasn't married, or whatever the case may be, and you had an option. The option was nobody, this fine girl, the way you like him, and you'd be like, wow, you're the girl of my dreams, but she just keeps quiet and not tell you that they were born with HIV. Or, I mean, that's one option. Or this girl just comes to you and says, listen, Angel, the reason why I haven't given you myself to you or whatever is because I'm trying to protect you, and I was born with HIV or whatever, so that's why I haven't given me myself to you. So my question to you is, which would have you preferred, or what would have been like your what would you where would you go? Would you go with the girl that didn't tell you anything and then you got a piece of ass, or would you respect the girl for protecting you and telling you off the bat?
I would prefer that I be given the choice. I would prefer to know. That being said, I don't know how I would react. I don't know what I would do. You understand? I don't know. I honestly, I don't know. When you're sexually intimate with someone, you always run a risk. That's just a fact. Especially if you don't know the person and whatever. And I'm not encouraging it. I'm just stating the facts. Right? There's always a risk. Now, if the person tells you I have HIV. You now the risk, and again, you're going to correct me or you're going to give me your perspective on this, but now that risk is, it's a guarantee that the risk is there. You know, the person has HIV. We know that now it's not an unknown, it's a fact that she's got HIV. Now the condom may or may not protect you, whatever could happen. So I don't know. Being completely honest, I don't know how I would handle that. And it would greatly depend on the relationship, the relationship with the person, what we have going and everything. But my logic would probably steer me to back off from an intimate relationship. Again, because I'm just a logic-driven individual. That's just how I am. Even now, if I don't know it, I've been in dance clubs and have women come to me and want to leave with me. And what am I thinking? Here's my thought process. Yo, she could be setting me up to get robbed. I could go to a hotel with her. She can inject me with a needle. I'll wake up missing a fucking kidney. You understand what I'm saying? This is how I think. I think very logical, and I think in those terms. I had two hot Latina women in the club. One of them started kissing me in the neck. The other one started grabbing my crotch, and they said, "Let's go." They were ready to leave the club with me. Two of them, menage a trois. You understand? What happens? I start thinking to myself, this is too good to be true. So you know what I did? I told them I was gay. I said, "Listen, girls, I'm sorry, I'm gay." I told them I'm gay because, one, I didn't want to offend them by rejecting them. Right? I figure if I tell them I'm gay, then they don't feel rejected. They just, oh man, this guy's gay, and carry on. But this is the way I think. So I mean, what's your take on that? Like, how do you perceive that? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Does it bother you? I mean, be honest.
You could have went through with it. I mean, would you respect the girl? Like, at least would you at least respect her because she at least was up front with you and told you something?
There's no question that I appreciate her telling me. There's no question that that's the right thing to do. I would appreciate that and absolutely respect the person and treasure them. And I wouldn't leave the friendship. I wouldn't cut the person off. The one thing that I'd be concerned about is, do I want to be intimate? Do I want to have sexual relationships with this person? I wouldn't all of a sudden say, "Hey, we can't hang out no more. Don't come." No, absolutely not. I would treasure them and continue whatever I have. That aspect of it, the sexual aspect, because of the risk, because that's how one of the ways it could be transmitted. Again, it would strongly depend on the relationship. But to answer your question, absolutely, I respect and appreciate. I don't know, has it been your experience that all of a sudden they stop being your friends? Do they cut you off?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and that's when the resentment comes in. That's where people come and get upset and be like, you know what? I should keep my mouth shut. I should just keep, put on a condom and let's go. And then, let's hope to whatever that she doesn't get sick in the sand. But then that's when it knocks into me and says, "No, Joba, you're right. You're doing the right thing."
Joba, thank you so much for being so transparent and giving of yourself to us in discussing this. I know it's a very difficult thing to open yourself up and be, really, really exposed to the world in a subject as sensitive as this. So I really appreciate that. That's awesome. My question to you would be really fundamentally trying to bring back to the need of a relationship, right? Because you are in a pretty special condition to where one of your biggest questions as you've imposed is that, or as you pose, is that is it better to tell? Is it better not to tell? Where do I fall? But you've already inside, you already know the answer to that. That you should definitely do the right thing, which is tell them up front, and so be it. But what is the basis in which you want to have a relationship? Is it sex?
Angel, can you
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah.
All right. So let me.
Can you?
So when you're talking about having a relationship and having a relationship with a girl, uh, you know, in telling them you have HIV, is it good or bad, or maybe you should just have sex with them and then then not in hope that they don't get it. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is the fact that not every relationship is based on sex, but a lot of people base that as the primary reason they would have a relationship, right? Basically, people get into relationships for many reasons, right? Sex is certainly one of them, but it's not the end all be all of a relationship. There's the element of having a partner, having a relationship that is not based in sex at all. A lot of people may get remarried when they're in their 60s and 70s, and they really have a lifelong partner for the rest of their lives that is not based on having any sexual interaction whatsoever, right? Um, and those can be still very rich, very great relationships. It's certainly missing the element of sex, but sex may not be the culmination point of a relationship, if you know what I'm saying. So,
well, the thing
or
is
is it for you?
the thing is with me is that I don't think nobody's gonna sit here and say, "Yeah, I want a relationship just to, what I mean, get it on," or whatever the case may be, because that's gonna be a huge. So it's like I think that the only way that that is possible is, like you said before, people that are 70, 80, or 60 years old that don't have very much stamina, or probably doesn't want, sexual intercourse. But when you come into a 25-year-old person that, what I mean, doesn't really get it as much, or that's when they're the prime age of wanting to have intercourse and to have sex and intimacy. The only way you could do that is, like I said, either be a old person or whatever, older person, or um be a virgin. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Well,
not experienced it ever. And those are the only two ways that I think that. But once you already are not a virgin, and once you already been through it and already experienced it, you kind of want more because it was fun, or you like it. You know what I mean?
well, yeah, yes and no, but there's I want to back off of that example that I use solely because it's probably the most common example, right? Which is people of age who are not really interested in sex. However, there are many people for many different reasons and purposes find themselves not practicing sex, at least until they get married, and many of them continue in a lifestyle where they don't really care about sex as the common individual would, or most of the population may. So,
Those must not be Latinos or 25-year-old Latinos, because how do we pronounce
but I understand, Renan.
Renan? Okay.
Yeah, but you understand those exist, right?
Absolutely.
And you understand that perhaps because of the culture, you don't seem to hear so much from them that they exist because they would be embarrassed to say that. But there's probably a larger amount of people than you would imagine who really pay little importance to sex itself, and perhaps aside from even just priests and nuns, as Miss Kuala is saying on the chat box, but normal people who uh, don't really give it as much importance. And I'm saying women perhaps, and perhaps they had things in their childhood and things. But what I'm saying is, would that even interest you if the element of sex would be removed from the equation, knowing that you've sort of got yourself in a situation? And let me say something also, by the way. It's only by the grace of God that I haven't contracted HIV myself or my wife, and the early ages where we were promiscuous and did all sorts of things and had sex with all sorts of people, but I'm it's only by the grace of God that I stand here, not in your position. So I'm heartfelt saying this to you, but that you are in a situation now that's very delicate when it comes to sexual intercourse. Of course, you know that. would it be something that you may be willing to give up the notion of in order to have a meaningful, lifelong relationship with somebody?
Well, Renan, I'm in a predicament where I rather, as they say, dry hump. I rather dry hump when it comes to sex instead of, and this is the first interview that I say that, and but I prefer dry humping if it became down to sex, um instead of, like, putting condoms on and everything else, because I think that dry humping is way safer than a using a condom or whatever the case may be. And and once again, I am Hispanic, and it's like I'm not a girl. A lot of females say, and they could go on for a very long time without having sex, but there's a lot of men that can't do that, like men's, and I am one of those men that just loves the affection, love the kissing, love the hugging, and I mean, I'm sorry to say it, but we love sex. Men love sex. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, Raynon, I had to drop you because you had there was a lot of background noise coming in, so I don't mean to be rude. I just we couldn't really hear Joba, so I just X'd you out so you get to somewhere where it's quieter. But that is a good question. Again, don't mean to be rude. I'm using this for a podcast, so yeah. So yeah, again, don't mean to be rude. We got a question here, and it's I don't know if this question was answered. This is from Miss Koala. I mentioned I would be getting to the question, and here we go. I don't know if this question was answered, but is there an HIV/AIDS community where you can date people? And is this something that interests you regarding meeting women? We spoke about this before. You mentioned this, but go ahead and answer that question, because for everyone to know the answer. And turn your mic. We got the light back on. Just flip the mic. That little blue light. There you go. Feel like I'm in a club, strobe light.
Well, to answer Miss Quayla, and I thank you for asking that question. Once again, we go back at it again. If there is a community where people with HIV interact or communicate or whatever, they gave me a website or whatever for it, and I already sent like a couple of messages, and I haven't gotten no messages back. So a lot of people are very preserved or quiet, and they're not as open as I am. You understand what I'm saying? Because they are afraid of, we go back at it again, rejection. You know what I mean? And people neglecting them and everything else. So nobody, like a lot of females that are beautiful, you know what I mean, as Miss Quayla or Cindy, which I see her around, and I thank her for stopping by and being here. A lot of females don't want to get rejected. A lot of females, pretty females, don't want to get neglected and rejected about X, Y, and Z. So obviously they're not gonna be like, hey, this is my label. My label is I was born with HIV or I contracted HIV. So do you accept me or not? Because 9 out of 10, they already know what's gonna, the outcome of it, and it might be no. I do not want to be with you, as beautiful or as cute as you are. I'm sorry, but I can't be with you because X, Y, and Z. So, so, so it'll be a no. Not a lot of people are open about it, and not a lot of people prefer to disclose it or be open about it and tell people about it, like myself. So no. Hopefully that answers your question.
Well, there's another part which I remember, and I want you to touch on. You mentioned in the last time where we had there was a similar question like this raised. You mentioned that everyone's HIV would be different. That uh, you're you
Yeah.
may react differently.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Touch on that,
Right,
because I
right.
think that would also complement
Right.
this.
Well, thank you for bringing that back up, Angel. A lot of people out here in society think that, Miss Qualia, with all your respect, may I please use you as an example, please, please? I'll ask first. Okay, so let's say Miss Quayla. This is an example, people, for the record. I don't want y'all to go and find Miss Quayla and be like, "Oh my God, I hurt." No, this is just an example.
Just
Um,
use me. Yeah.
well, I mean, no, I don't run that way.
Hey,
Uh,
what's up? Why are you rejecting? Let's do
so,
this, man.
so, uh, so Miss Quayla, I go to Miss Quayla, and she has HIV as well, or whatever the case may be. Everybody eventually says, "Okay, Miss Quayla and Joba could be together and compatible." But the thing is this: Apple and Windows. People need to see it as different. Those are two different computers. Those are different. Those are two different operating systems. So basically, Angel, Miss Quayla, Cindy, everybody has a different system in their body. You know what I mean? Because my system is not the same system as Angel, or my system is not the same as Miss Quayla. So basically, Miss Quayla, has her body under control. She knows how to manage it. She knows how to. She drinks, different medication, or she's in a different treatment, or whatever the case might be. So she's in a whole different planet, I guess you could say, right? So I can't come into her planet and say, "Okay, Miss Quayla, let's have intimacy, let's make love." And what could happen out of that is I could make it worse for her, or she could make it worse for myself. So basically, it's like I'm bringing another virus, or I'm bringing another complication into my body or into my system, and I'm bringing another complication, another thing to her system, and it just creates like an atomic bomb. You get what I'm saying? It just makes it worse, and that's where different complications, and it could get worse because now I don't have control over my body anymore because the system that Miss Quayla brought into my system is more powerful than the system that I already had, or more stronger, or whatever the case might be. So a lot of people have that like they don't have that right information. But thanks for
Right.
the question. Anyways, Miss Quayla.
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's something that most people don't know. I actually, until you told me that day, I was always under the impression that if someone has HIV and another person has HIV, then you pose no threat to each other unless one of you catches some ailment other than that to harm you. I kind of was under that impression. This is news to me. That's why I wanted you to
You're not the only one. You're not the only one, Angel. I mean, like a lot of people actually think this. You know what I mean? And that's another reason why I'm doing this, and this is why I like doing this, is to try to my best ability to inform people about it, and this is what I'm here for. And I thank you once again, Angel. Hopefully that answered your question, Miss Quayla. Hopefully.
I, I I think we have the question answered from multiple facets.
Right, right.
I'm just curious. You mentioned that choice, right? You mentioned that in the beginning, and you mentioned it a couple of times since then. You had the choice to tell people. Now, I don't know. You can let me know. Legally, are you if you were to be intimate with a woman and you did not tell her, and by some chance she contracted HIV, is that something that can get you legally in trouble because you didn't share it? Or is it kind of like one of those things where, it's, sex at your own risk in the world? Are you familiar with that at all? Or if you don't know, you can just say, I don't know.
Thank you for the question, Angel. Yes, I do know the answer to that question. And yes, if you're not Charlie Sheen, or if you're not somebody famous like Magic Johnson, and have a lot of money, like in the bank or whatever the case might be, um, you could get 25 to life. You know what I mean? You could get in legal problems, and you could even get arrested. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people say, okay, I'm not gonna tell this person about it. If they catch it, well, if they catch it, they catched it, and then I'm gonna change my number. I'm gonna change. I'm gonna change my number. I'm gonna change my address. I'm gonna move here, there, everywhere. They're not gonna find me. But obviously, they'll find you. The law will find you eventually. And like I said, you could try to hide, but not from the law. And the law is very strong, so they'll find you. And when they find you, they be like, you're under arrest, and then you'd be like, well, why? And then they say, well, you was sleeping with Taniqua, and you didn't tell Taniqua that you had this and that, and you was their last intercourse, or you was the last partner that they had. So yeah, that's why you're under arrest.
So 25 to life under what charge? What?
Attempted murder.
Wow.
Yeah, attempted murder. Like, because it's like you having a 9 and trying to pull the trigger. You know what I mean? Because you're taking somebody else's life slowly but surely. It's like a slow death.
Wow.
If they don't get like the proper procedures or treatment, you know what I mean, beforehand.
Now, if somebody came up to you in the street and punched you in the face, and now this is just, again, the practical way I think. I'm walking in the street. I actually was talking with some cops a couple of days ago. I went and approached them and had a conversation on them about self-defense.
Right.
If somebody attacks me and I do X, Y, Z, am I going to get in trouble? Legally going to get in trouble? I'm always thinking in terms of self-preservation,
Right.
So now you're in the street, somebody comes, punches you in the face, cuts you open, are you now obligated to tell this person, yo, stop, or, I mean, what would you do in that type of a situation? I know.
Well, it all depends. It all depends if the person has, I guess let's say he punches me so hard that he opens his knuckles and everything else, and then he opens me up or whatever. I think that eventually I'll get so mad and upset that I wouldn't care. You know what I mean? Like, it would be, I was so like, I guess the anger when that's happening and everything else, the anger would be like, F him. You know what I mean? He punched you. If he got knuckles open and he gets, infected, F him. You understand what I'm saying? And if the cops come knock on your door or whatever, like, take pictures or have proof, you know what I mean, that he came at me first, you know what I mean? Like, he attacked me, and if he's sick, it's his fault. It's his own fault, because he came at me, he punched me, I was minding my own business, and bada bing, bada boom. You understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, I think that out of anger, after I mess him up or retaliate, or I probably just won't do it. I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't be like, yo, chill, or whatever, because I'm just angry. I'm upset. So.
Right. Yeah, I can understand that. Be a tough situation to.
Yeah.
Like, trying to hurt you.
And then you're trying to, like, he's trying to hurt you, but then you're trying to protect him.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
To understand how that might be a little challenging for someone.
Right.
I can appreciate that. All right. Well,
right. I just want to throw my information out there. If anybody wants to get in contact with Joba, my Twitter is JMUGA. If you want to contact me, go there.
Folks, my name is Angel Rodriguez. This is Angel Art Talk. You've been listening to Joba sharing his very personal, intimate story. Thank you to everybody, and we will catch you guys.
www.nyctalking.com, the realest lifestyle blog ever. Please follow Angel Art Talk on Twitter and Instagram. Please like NYC Talking on Facebook. We are NYC Talking. Thanks for listening.